Hi everybody, I'm John Roark, Editor-in-Chief of Phoenix Home and Garden Magazine. We're here at the Arizona Fine Art Expo, and right now we are talking with Scott Shangraw, who is a fine artist who deals in wood sculpture. So tell us,
Yes, sir.
hello, tell us about your work.
Well, all my work is freehand carved. I use a variety of tools from chainsaws to grinders to achieve these different shapes. And I use all like reclaimed wood that's been down.
Okay.
So I go out and I find it with special permission and permits. I go get these unusual woods. And I'll see a shape in this big log and I go in and start creating. I always want them to be very fluid, almost like they've been bent.
Right.
But it's all strictly from the carving. I make a lot of sawdust.
So you're like with a piece like this, for example. So is it part of a whole trunk?
Right. So what you're seeing here is the very outside of the tree. That's the actual bark.
Okay.
So this would be the center. So if you were looking at the tree, it would have continued all the way around like this. So I'm going in with a chainsaw initially and carving and keeping the outer edge, and kind of I use that to give the effect like it's been bent or something like that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And that's a black walnut tree.
And you come from, you hail from New Mexico?
New Mexico. A lot of my woods are from the mountains in New Mexico.
Okay.
I use woods, a lot of Arizona woods, a lot of mesquite that grows here. I use a lot of that in Texas type woods. But like I said, they're all woods that have fallen and they've dried and they cured. So they're kind of stable now, but most of them are very hard, dense woods like mesquite.
And so you tell us about the tools that you use to create.
Well, I'll do actually even on these pieces that are down inside, I'll do a majority of that with the chainsaw. I'll get real close to my shape with a chainsaw. Then I go in with a variety of grinders, chisels, whatever it takes, and I start working on the thinness and the fluidness of it. And then comes the big part, lots of sanding. And it's very hard to sand these. Luckily, my wife, I better give her credit, does most of it. And she has smaller hands and she could reach in here. And sometimes this has to be done by hand because of the awkward shapes.
Okay. And then when you, like with this piece here, that looks like turquoise,
yes,
is that correct? So talk about that. How do you work that in?
So some pieces, I'll take the natural cracks, and I tend to use turquoise, but I'll use a variety of fine gems and stones. Some have opal in them. So we'll crush it, or in this case, I was able to use big pieces of turquoise, and I put them in a bed of a resin, fill up the cracks, and then I finish grinding it from there, which cuts the stone and gives it more color again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it kind of, it gives it a pop of color, but in the same sense, it'll stabilize big giant cracks and things like that.
So if I'm looking at the grain of this piece, it looks like it went around that way.
Right,
so
exactly.
Was it a log or a trunk that was, okay.
You got it. So right there, you can kind of see the rings of the wood.
Right.
Here's kind of the center of it. So you got it. It would have been sitting on its side.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like I asked one of the other artists that we were talking about, when you find a piece of wood, do you kind of get a vision of what it's going to become, or does that just kind of evolve?
It's kind of both. Sometimes I'll see a piece and it comes right away. Then other times I'll have it sitting and I'll walk by it 50 times in the shop, and all of a sudden one day it's like, okay.
Oh, there it is.
I see it. That's the hard part, is seeing it in there and trying to bring it out, but it's also the fun and creative part of it.
Okay, and then does it ever, do you think it's going to be one thing and then it turns into something else? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll have this great idea and sometimes it ends up being firewood, you know, but so that gets frustrating. And sometimes if I follow through the mistakes, I come up with a whole different piece that I really
so they're
end
not
up loving.
mistakes at all.
Exactly, right. You just got to learn to kind of live with it, work with it. And
okay. And then pieces like this one right over here.
That's actually stone
with
wood added to it. I do a little bit of stone, and that's another stone piece.
Okay.
It's a softer stone, and I'm able to use the same wood tools. And then I add wood to it, and it's the ssame process.
Okay.
It's just kind of eliminating everything that doesn't belong there.
yeah, taking away everything that doesn't belong.
Correct.
Yeah, I get it. And then what is the like the biggest piece you've done?
Well, one of the biggest pieces I just did was this one turning out here, this big mesquite tree. That's not the biggest, but it's up there. It takes quite a big tree to be able to do a piece of that size. But I've done some tall 7-foot freestanding pieces.
Okay. And so a piece like this, can you guesstimate about how many hours you invest in something like that?
Yeah, I tend to stop and start a lot.
Right.
And the carving process, especially a chainsaw, can make quick work of it. And I'd say most of the time is in the sanding. And it probably took a good week just to sand that piece.
It's amazing. How did you get started with, how did this happen?
Originally I did furniture, and it was kind of a sculptural furniture that I did. And I started making smaller little bowls to bring to shows with me.
Okay.
And then I kind of liked that, and I evolved and started doing bigger, more elaborate. And the past 10 years, I switched over to strictly doing the sculpture.
Okay, so when you started out and you were making furniture, and however many years ago that was, did you ever think that you would be doing what you're doing today?
No, you know, through school, I was always into art. I've tried several mediums. I've painted, I've done pen and ink. And it wasn't until I took a wood class in high school that I found the medium that really struck with me. And I never thought I would go into sculpture, but I like it. Sculptor, to me, is a lot more freedom of the expression, where a chair has to be a chair.
Right.
You have to be able to sit in it.
Good point.
This allows me to be, and the wood to be what it's speaking and what it wants to be.
Do you do commissions as well?
I do
Okay.
commissions, like if someone has a certain niche or a freestanding spot they want to fit something.
What if they have, say, for example, a tree that they planted that
Oh, yes.
grew up and fell, and
Yes.
you can create something
I've definitely done
lasting
that.
about that? That's
Right.
fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, you know, something. I've done one recently. It was their father had planted this tree.
Beautiful.
You know, so after it had fallen, they still got the tree.
Right,
you
yeah,
know, that
exactly.
memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite woods, or they're all different? So
They're all different. One of my favorites probably tends to be what grows in the mountains in New Mexico. It's this juniper.
Okay.
And what's so special about it, it's a special kind of juniper, alligator juniper. And it's a very old tree. Like there's one here in Arizona that the fighters, the forest fighters, the movie, I can't remember the name.
Oh, right.
With Josh Brolin in it.
Yes.
It was about a certain tree they went to go defend. It was like a 1700-year-old tree. That's what this is.
Okay.
And you just see how tight the grain is on
beautiful.
it. Very slow growing tree. So to give it a second life to me has a lot of meaning.
Exactly.
And it's hard to get. You have to wait till they have fallen, and then you get a permit to get them.
And then are they ready to go then? Do you have to?
Usually by the time you find them and they've been down, they've been sitting on the ground, and you know, even some of them have been there so long they're starting to rot a little bit. And they're pretty stable at that point.
Okay, so they're ready to go by the time you find them.
Right.
Okay. And about how many pieces have you got here?
Whew. I don't know.
I know. I'm
I
trying to make a
got a
guesstimate.
few. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been a little busy. I haven't had many shows here as lately, so I've been carving. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I got quite a few.
Well, you're here for the duration of the expo.
Yes.
So, are you doing any work here while you're here?
I will be. I have a working cabana out there, and I'll be doing a little bit of carving.
Okay, so
there.
people can come out and just see you do your craft. That's fascinating. Yep. All right. So, thank you for talking to us today.
Well,
good luck with the expo.
Appreciate you coming and taking the time out to spend with me.
All right. Thank you again.